Universe Books. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. By Dr. Joseph Murphy Ph.D., 1963. This is an audiovisual project, derived from the original classic book. Produced by Universe Books Channel. All rights reserved. Chapter 12, How Scientists Use the Subconscious Mind. Many of the most creative scientists in history have realized the true importance of the subconscious mind. Edison, Marconi, Einstein, and many others have used the subconscious mind to give them the insight and the know-how to bring about their great achievements. The ability to bring into action the power of the subconscious mind is one of the most important factors in determining the success of great scientific and research workers. One of the most amazing examples of this can be found in the life of the celebrated chemist, Friedrich von Stradonitz. He had been struggling for a long time to understand the chemical structure of the hydrocarbon called benzene. This is a compound that contains 6 atoms of carbon and 6 of hydrogen. Stradonitz was constantly perplexed by the problem. All his efforts seemed to lead nowhere. Unable to solve the riddle, tired and exhausted, Stradonitz turned the matter over completely to his subconscious mind. Shortly afterward, as he was about to board a London bus, his subconscious presented his conscious mind with a sudden flash. In his mind, Stradonitz saw the image of a snake biting its own tail and turning around like a pinwheel. This message from his subconscious mind inspired him to orient his search in a different direction. Soon he arrived at the long-sought answer, the circular arrangement of atoms that is known as the benzene ring. How a distinguished scientist brought forth his inventions. Nikola Tesla was a brilliant pioneer in the field of electricity. The Tesla coil, an exhibit in science museums that is always a favorite with children, was only one of his inventions. This is a charged metal sphere. When someone touches it, the static electricity makes his or her hair stand straight up. Tesla also experimented with the concept of broadcasting energy. His ideas on this topic are still considered revolutionary. Tesla was a convinced user of the power of the subconscious mind. Whenever he had an idea for a new invention or a new research direction, he would build it up in his imagination, then turn it over to his subconscious mind. He knew that his subconscious mind would reconstruct and reveal to his conscious mind all the parts needed for its manufacture in concrete form. Through quietly contemplating every possible improvement, he wasted no time on correcting defects. He was able to give the technicians working with him the perfect end product of his mind. In an interview, he said, "Invariably, my device works as I imagined it should. In 20 years there has not been a single exception." How a famous naturalist solved his problem. Professor Louis Agassiz of Harvard University was one of the most distinguished American naturalists of the 19th century. He discovered the great powers of his subconscious mind while he slept. The following example comes from a biography of Agassiz, written by his widow. He had been for 2 weeks striving to decipher the somewhat obscure impression of a fossil fish on the stone slab in which it was preserved. Weary and perplexed, he put his work aside at last, and tried to dismiss it from his mind. Shortly after, he waked one night persuaded that while asleep he had seen his fish with all the missing features perfectly restored. But when he tried to hold and make fast the image it escaped him. Nevertheless, he went early to the Jardin des Plantes, thinking that on looking anew at the impression he should see something which would put him on the track of his vision. In vain, the blurred record was as black as ever. The next night he saw the fish again, but with no more satisfactory result. When he awoke it disappeared from his memory as before. Hoping that the same experience might be repeated, on the third night he placed a pencil and paper beside his bed before going to sleep. Accordingly, toward morning the fish reappeared in his dream, confusedly at first, but at last with such distinctness that he had no longer any doubt as to its zoological characters. Still half dreaming, in perfect darkness, he traced these characters on the sheet of paper at the bedside. In the morning he was surprised to see in his nocturnal sketch features which he thought it impossible the fossil itself should reveal. He hastened to the Jardin des Plantes, and, with his drawing as a guide, succeeded in chiseling away the surface of the stone under which portions of the fish proved to be hidden. When wholly exposed it corresponded with his dream and his drawing, and he succeeded in classifying it with ease. How an outstanding physician solved the problem of diabetes. In the 1920s, Dr. Frederick Banting, a brilliant Canadian physician and researcher, focused his attention on the ravages of diabetes. At that time medical science offered no effective method of arresting the disease. Banting spent considerable time experimenting and studying the international literature on the subject, but every path he explored seemed to be a dead end. One night, exhausted by still another long day of what seemed to be wasted efforts, he fell asleep. While he lay sleeping, his subconscious mind instructed him to extract the residue from the degenerated pancreatic duct of dogs. This inspiration led him to the discovery of insulin, which has helped countless millions of people since. You will note that Dr. Banting had been consciously dwelling on the problem for some time, seeking a solution, a way out. His subconscious responded accordingly. It does not follow that you will always get an answer overnight. The answer may not come for some time. Do not be discouraged. Keep on turning the problem over every night to the subconscious mind prior to sleep, as if you had never done it before. If you continue to experience a delay in arriving at a solution, maybe you are thinking of the question you are presenting to your subconscious mind as a major one that will take a long time to solve. This would not be surprising. We are usually tempted to believe our problems are difficult. If they weren't, they wouldn't be problems. However, this is a mistake. Your subconscious mind is timeless and spaceless. Go to sleep believing you have the answer now. Do not postulate that the answer will have to wait to come in the future. Have an abiding faith in the outcome. Become convinced now as you read this book that there is an answer and a perfect solution for you. How a scientist escaped from a Soviet concentration camp. Dr. Lothar von Blankschmidt, an outstanding electronics engineer, was locked up in a Soviet prison camp during World War II. He credits his survival and eventual escape to freedom to the powers of his subconscious mind. I was a prisoner of war in a coal mine in Russia, and I saw men dying all around me in that prison compound. We were watched over by brutal guards, arrogant officers, and sharp, fast-thinking commissars. After a short medical checkup, a quota of coal was assigned to each person. My quota was 300 pounds per day. In case any man did not fill his quota, his small food ration was cut down, and in a short time he was resting in the cemetery. I started concentrating on my escape. I knew that my subconscious mind would somehow find a way. My home in Germany was destroyed, my family wiped out, all my friends and former associates were either killed in the war or were in concentration camps. I said to my subconscious mind, I want to go to Los Angeles, and you will find the way. I had seen pictures of Los Angeles and I remembered some of the boulevards very well as some of the buildings. Every day and night I would imagine I was walking down Wilshire Boulevard with an American girl whom I met in Berlin prior to the war. She is now my wife. In my imagination we would visit the stores, ride buses, and eat in the restaurants. Every night I made it a special point to drive my imaginary American automobile up and down the boulevards of Los Angeles. I made all this vivid and real. These pictures in my mind were as real and as natural to me as one of the trees outside the prison camp. Every morning the chief guard would count the prisoners as they were lined up. He would call out 1, 2, 3, etc., and when 17 was called out, which was my number in sequence, I stepped aside. In the meantime, the guard was called away for a minute or so, and on his return he started by mistake on the next man as number 17. When the crew returned in the evening, the number of men was the same, and I was not missed, and the discovery would take a long time. I walked out of the camp undetected and kept walking for 24 hours, resting in a deserted town the next day. I was able to live by fishing and killing some wildlife. I found coal trains going to Poland and traveled on them by night, until finally I reached Poland. With the help of friends, I made my way to Lucerne, Switzerland. One evening at the Palace Hotel, Lucerne, I had a talk with a man and his wife from the United States of America. This man asked me if I would care to be a guest at his home in Santa Monica, California. I accepted, and when I arrived in Los Angeles, I found that their chauffeur drove me along Wilshire Boulevard and many other boulevards which I had imagined so vividly in the long months in the Russian coal mines. I recognized the buildings which I had seen in my mind so often. It actually seemed as if I had been in Los Angeles before. I had reached my goal. I will never cease to marvel at the wonders of the subconscious mind. Truly, it has ways we know not of. How archaeologists and paleontologists reconstruct ancient scenes. Your subconscious mind has a memory of everything that has ever happened in the history of our species. Archaeologists studying ancient ruins and the countless artifacts left by the people of former cultures can put imaginative perception to marvelous use in their work. Their subconscious mind can aid them in reconstructing ancient scenes. The dead past becomes alive once more. Looking at the fragments of these ancient buildings and studying the pottery, statuary, tools, and household utensils of earlier civilizations, the scientist is able, through the common data banks of the universal mind, to know how, when, and why these objects were created. The keen concentration and disciplined imagination of the scientist awakens the latent powers of the subconscious mind. This gives him the ability to clothe the ancient structures with roofs and surround them with gardens, pools, and fountains. The fossil remains are clothed with eyes, sinews, and muscles, and they again walk and talk. The past becomes the living present, and we find that in mind there is no time or space. Through disciplined, controlled, and directed imagination, you can be a companion of the most scientific and inspired thinkers of all time. How to receive guidance from your subconscious. When you have to make what you think will be a difficult decision, or when you fail to see the solution to your problem, begin at once to think constructively about it. If you are fearful and worried, you are not really thinking. True thinking is free from fear. Here are the steps of a simple technique you can use to receive guidance on any subject. Quiet the mind and still the body. Tell the body to relax, it has to obey you. It has no volition, initiative, or self-conscious intelligence. Your body is an emotional disk that records your beliefs and impressions. Mobilize your attention, focus your thought on the solution to your problem. Try to solve it with your conscious mind. Think how happy you would be about the perfect solution. Sense the feeling you would have if the perfect answer were yours now. Let your mind play with this mood of happiness and contentment in a relaxed way, then drop off to sleep. When you awaken, if you do not have the answer, get busy with something else. While you are preoccupied with something else, it is possible that the answer will pop into your mind. In receiving guidance from the subconscious mind, the simple way is the best. Here is an illustration. I once lost a valuable ring that was a family heirloom. I looked everywhere for it, but it was nowhere to be found. I was worried and distressed by the loss. That night I talked to my subconscious mind, in the same way that I would talk to anyone. Before dropping off to sleep, I said to it, "You know all things. You know where that ring is, and you now reveal to me where it is." In the morning, I woke up suddenly with these words ringing in my ear, "Ask Robert." This seemed very strange to me. The only Robert I could think of offhand was the 9-year-old son of my next-door neighbors. Why should he know anything about the location of my ring? However, I followed the inner voice of intuition. I found Robert in his yard and described the ring to him. "You haven't seen it, have you?" I asked. "Oh, sure," he replied. "I found it in the bushes yesterday when I was playing hide and seek. I didn't know whose it was, so I took it inside and put it on my desk. I was going to put up a sign about it, but I forgot." The subconscious mind will always answer you if you trust it. His subconscious revealed the location of his father's will. Hugo R. was a young man who attended my lectures in Los Angeles. He told me of his experience with the power of the subconscious mind. His father had died suddenly, apparently leaving no will. However, his sister told him that their father had once mentioned making his will and told her that he had done his best to make it fair to everyone. Hugo realized that if his late father were ruled to have died intestate, without a will, the property would be divided up according to rules made by the state. It was not likely that this would fit their father's desires. Moreover, legal fees would consume much of the estate. He and his sister looked everywhere, but they could not locate the will. They began to wonder whether the will existed at all. Then Hugo remembered what he had learned about using the subconscious mind. Before going to sleep, he talked to his deeper mind, saying, "I now turn this request over to the subconscious mind. It knows where my father's will is and reveals it to me." Then he condensed his request down to one word, "answer." He repeated it over and over again, like a lullaby. He went to sleep with the word answer echoing in his mind. The next morning, he woke up with a tremendous urge to visit a certain bank in downtown Los Angeles. He wondered about this. Had he heard his father mention it once? Had he noticed a letter from the bank in his father's mail? He didn't know, but he did know that he had to check out this hunch. He went to the bank that morning. Eventually, a bank officer confirmed that there was a safe deposit box in the vault registered in the name of his late father. When the box was opened, the missing will was discovered inside. Your thought, as you go to sleep, arouses the powerful latency that is within you. Suppose you are wondering if you should sell your home, buy a certain stock, sever a partnership, move to New York or stay in Los Angeles, dissolve the present contract or take a new one. Do this, sit quietly in your armchair or at the desk in your office. Remember that there is a universal law of action and reaction. The action is your thought. The reaction is the response from your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is reactive and reflexive, that is its nature. It rebounds, rewards, and repays. It follows the law of correspondence. It responds by corresponding. As you contemplate right action, you will automatically experience a reaction or response in yourself that represents the guidance or answer of your subconscious mind. In seeking guidance, you simply think quietly about right action. This means that you are using the infinite intelligence resident in the subconscious mind to the point where it begins to use you. From there on, your course of action is directed and controlled by the subjective wisdom within you, which is all-wise and omnipotent. Your decision will be right. There will be only right action because you are under a subjective compulsion to do the right thing. I use the word compulsion because the law of the subconscious is compulsion. The secret of guidance. The secret of guidance or right action is to mentally devote yourself to the right answer until you find its response in you. The response is a feeling, an inner awareness, an overpowering hunch whereby you know that you know. You have used the power to the point where it begins to use you. You cannot possibly fail or make one false step while operating under the subjective wisdom within you. You will find that all your ways are pleasantness and all your paths are peace. Highlights to recall. Remember that the subconscious mind has determined the success and wonderful achievements of all great scientific workers. By giving your conscious attention and devotion to the solution of a perplexing problem, your subconscious mind gathers all the necessary information and presents it full-blown to the conscious mind. If you are wondering about the answer to a problem, try to solve it objectively. Get all the information you can from research and also from others. If no answer comes, turn it over to your subconscious mind prior to sleep, and the answer always comes. It never fails. You do not always get the answer overnight. Keep on turning your request over to your subconscious until the day breaks and the shadows flee away. You delay the answer by thinking it will take a long time or that it is a major problem. Your subconscious has no problem, it knows only the answer. Believe that you have the answer now. Feel the joy of the answer and the way you would feel if you had the perfect answer. Your subconscious will respond to your feeling. Any mental picture, backed by faith and perseverance, will come to pass through the miracle working power of your subconscious. Trust it, believe in its power, and wonders will happen as you pray. Your subconscious is the storehouse of memory, and within your subconscious are recorded all your experiences since childhood. Scientists meditating on ancient scrolls, temples, fossils, and other evidence are able to reconstruct scenes of the past and make them alive today. Their subconscious mind comes to their aid. Turn over your request for a solution to your subconscious prior to sleep. Trust it and believe in it, and the answer will come. It knows all and sees all, but you must not doubt or question its powers. The action is your thought, and the reaction is the response of your subconscious mind. If your thoughts are wise, your actions and decisions will be wise. Guidance comes as a feeling, an inner awareness, an overpowering hunch whereby you know that you know. It is an inner sense of touch. Follow it with the simplicity of faith. Well, here we finished this chapter of the book. Continue to listen in the next chapter. If you liked this video, if it brought a valuable information to you, you can help us clicking the like button. It is a positive sign for YouTube to suggest this audiobook to other people, and help the channel's growth. If you think that this video made your reading easier, if you think that it made your reading faster and more practical, if you think that we should launch more like this, write a comment here. We would like to know your opinion. It is very important for us. Remember to subscribe, and you will be informed when we launch new videos. Thank you for watching. See you in next chapter. Be always welcome. Production, Universe Books, copyright 2016.